Denbigh is an ancient market town situated on the west side of the Vale of Clwyd, which grew up around a castle built to hold the district after Edward I had overcome the Welsh in 1282. Although this castle formed one of the links in the chain of Edward's fortresses crossing North Wales, it was in actual fact built by Henry de Lacy, Earl of Lincoln, after he had been granted the lordship of Denbigh as a reward for supporting the king. Work on this impressive castle began in 1282, and although substantially completed by 1311 when de Lacy died, it wasn't actually finished until 11 years later. Today, the castle, perched on its splendid hilltop site, dominates the town just as it has done for over 700 years. Within the castle grounds, the museum and shop provide an insight into the castle's history. Here you find exhibits illustrating life in the 13th century. The steepness of the hill, scarcity of water, and damage to the wooden houses ravaged by fire during the Wars of the Roses attributed to the decline of the old town. The increasing development of Denbigh as a market town meant that, by the early 1600s, it was considered to be one of the most important towns in Wales. Plans from the 17th century show how the roads began to radiate out from the High Street. Love Lane curved around the Castle Hill, while Hentland Street headed westwards, and Lower Street, now Vale Street, continued eastwards. Much of the ancient town walls have survived to this day, and this, the Burgess Gate, is in a particularly good state of preservation. This sole remaining gate of the Edwardian town leads to Tower Hill. Here you find terraced cottages huddled together within the security of the old town walls. St. Hilary's Tower is all that remains of what was once the garrison church. Denbigh's first grammar school used to be held in the crypt beneath this church, but, sadly, no evidence remains of the main body of the church, which was demolished in 1924. Denbigh's most famous son, the explorer Sir Henry Morton Stanley, was christened John Rowlands here in 1841. He was born on the 28th of January that year, and for the first few years of his life was brought up by his grandfather. On the death of his grandfather, he was taken to the workhouse in St. Asaph, now the H.M. Stanley Hospital. John eventually moved to New Orleans, where he adopted the name of his kind employer, Henry Morton Stanley. During the American Civil War, he had many great adventures, fighting on both sides. In 1869, he was employed as a reporter for the New York Herald to search for David Livingstone in Africa. When he eventually found the lost explorer, he uttered the words which made him famous. "Dr. Livingstone, I presume." In 1579, Robert Dudley, Earl of Leicester, ordered work on this church to be commenced. His plans for this church to become a cathedral never reached fruition. It is said that a war in Ireland drained the Earl's resources, and as a result, he didn't have sufficient funds to complete the work. Bull lane leads steeply down the hill to meet Hall Square. At the junction of this lane and the square, a magnificent house was erected in 1666. That house is today the Bull Hotel. Opposite the Bull Hotel, the County Hall, from which the square derives its name, was built in the late 1500s. It once served as a court of law, where the borough sessions, quarter sessions, and county assizes were held. It has also served as the council chamber, and even gave cover to market stallholders for many years. Today, whilst retaining much of its external period character, you will find the interior has been modernized, and now serves as the town's library, art gallery, and museum. This beautiful ceramic mural tells the tale of the history and development of Denbigh. Flowers and wildlife found in the locality are interwoven with designs recording activities and characters of the area. This quaint medieval lane is known as Back Row, and throughout its history has always been bordered by inns. Some street names recall the fact that there were once many wells here supplying water to the public and industry. Denbigh is steeped in history, and every street, road and lane has its own tale to tell. In the 14th century, Lenton Pool was described as a pool well stocked with fish to be eaten by the castle garrison during Lent. Lenton Pool today differs from the Lenton Pool seen earlier this century. The High Cross, now standing in the centre of the roundabout, was previously located in Crown Square, but it was moved in 1923 to make way for the Angel War Memorial. The old High Cross, which preceded the High Cross, is now sited here at the head of Vale Street, next to the stocks, which create character even though they did not originate in Denbigh. Vale Street, once described as the finest approach to any town, was the professional and residential area of the town. Bordered by town houses, which may have lost some of their earlier elegance, Vale Street does still create an impressive gateway to Denbigh. Salisbury Place, now sadly demolished, was situated toward the lower end of Vale Street, and was the home of Dr. Evan Pierce, who was born in 1808. Dr. Pierce won the respect of local people for his untiring work during a cholera epidemic, and in his memory this marble statue was erected in 1876 in a small garden opposite what was once his home. Contrary to popular belief, there never has been a post office in this lane. The name is a corruption of Posting House Lane. The severe gradient at the top of Vale Street meant horses could not climb all the way to the High Street, and it was necessary for horses drawing coaches to be changed halfway up the hill at the posting house located at the rear of the Hawk and Buckle Inn. Another famous feature of Denbigh was also located in the yard of the Hawk and Buckle. Denbigh Cockpit was probably erected in the mid-1600s, but it was the mid-1960s when it was dismantled and re-erected in St Fagan's Folk Museum in Cardiff. The Friary, or Abbey as it is known locally, played an important role in the life of Denbigh in the Middle Ages. This street was once known as Beggar's Lane, because it was here that friars would beg for alms to distribute to the poor. The friary ceased to exist following the dissolution of the monasteries in 1538, and after that it was put to a variety of uses. It served as a wool store for a number of years, and then as a brewery until 1898, when a fire destroyed most of the building, leaving only the bare shell you see today. Denbigh has always been a market town located in an agricultural area, and for countless years farmers came here to buy and sell livestock at weekly auctions. Regrettably, this colourful and lively spectacle no longer forms a part of the town's way of life. Pentland Street, leading to the pretty village after which it is named, is one of Denbigh's oldest streets. Once the main working area of the town, this street did for many years have a reputation for being a somewhat rough and undesirable quarter. A number of the older properties have been given a fresh lease of life. These, together with modern housing developments, have enabled the area to acquire an air of peace and respectability. St. Mary's Church is fairly modern compared to many other buildings here. Built of local limestone and stone quarried for Minera, this church has served the parish since 1873. Here in Chapel Street, the printing works, forever associated with the publisher and preacher Thomas G, are still operating today. Thomas G, born in 1815, used to ride for miles on his horse, Degum, to preach. He was not only a leading newspaper publisher, but also a member of the Borough Council for over 50 years, and a founder of Love Lane School. Whilst Denbigh is, of course, a centre of great historical importance, the present town has much to offer visitors and residents alike. Affording facilities for all ages, this leisure complex is, however, a particular haven for the young. Here, boundless energy can be safely released and a lot of fun be had. Who knows? Perhaps these energetic youngsters may be sporting superstars of the future. There is a wide choice of activities to participate in all the year round. Ballooning may not be a pastime for everyone, but it is certainly one way to see the town. Twm O'r Nant Theatre, named after the eminent Welsh poet and dramatist, stages many productions throughout the year. Twm O'r Nant, born Thomas Edwards in 1739, would undoubtedly be proud to see his name immortalized in a continuation of the art he loved so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the buttons and the bows. Strolling through the shady lane,
stage productions aren't limited to the theatre. The town hall hosts a variety of events, and leading up to Christmas, it makes an ideal venue for local stars of tomorrow to be stars today. Denbigh's male voice choir has not been restricted by the boundary of Offa's Dyke, and has travelled extensively to perform for many appreciative audiences. There is no doubt that wherever you are, the unique sound of a Welsh choir never fails to tug at your heartstrings and bring you closer to home. Christmas is, of course, the traditional time for families and friends to get together. And the spirit of the festive season is clearly evident here as the people of Denbigh gather to sing carols beneath the tree outside the library. For the young especially, Christmas is a time of magic, and where would that magic be without Father Christmas? What is probably an unique event in the Welsh calendar is the International Roller Barrel competition held in the High Street each Boxing Day. You not only have to be fairly fit, but you must also possess a steady hand together with keen senses of balance and humour.
Well, we have last year's champion in the lead coming down the straight. And a closely fought competition for those who are going to be second. And here we have last year's champion coming across to be first.
It may well be wise not to have partaken too generously of the barrel's contents the day before. The Flint and Denbigh hunt add an extra splash of colour to the day as they receive the traditional stirrup cup, courtesy of the Bull Hotel.
Welcome once again to the Boxing Day. We now have the stirrup cup presented once again this year by the Bull Hotel. It makes a very colourful scene on that Boxing Day here in the High Street.
With its imposing Victorian facade, the North Wales Hospital has played an important role in the recent history of the town. Built in 1848, it has been both hospital and home for thousands of less fortunate people, as well as a major centre of employment. On a balmy summer's evening, the castle grounds make a beautiful setting in which to relax with a glass of wine and to enjoy a modern presentation of As You Like It.
You have lost much good sport.
The castle also plays host to colourful spectacles of medieval splendour when heritage societies bring to life the days of old, when knights were bold.
Down. Size down. And Courtney.
These dances, characteristic of the Middle Ages with their grace and style, were obviously well suited to baronial halls. This evokes the full meaning of audience participation, minus the grace and style. Most little boys dream of the adventures of Sherwood Forest, but only grown-up little boys actually get to live their dreams. The Denbigh and Flint show is the largest one-day county show in the Principality, and it is traditionally held on the third Thursday in August.
Some of you have not been hearing me well, so I hope I'm reaching you. Those rowdy ponies, next day,
With the Agricultural Society having been in existence since 1839, the theme of the show naturally centres on agriculture. However, there is always a rich variety of spectacles to delight you, and all the fun of the fair for the children. People travel from near and far to visit this show, and when celebrating its 131st show at Denbigh Green, the sun shone brilliantly all day to welcome the event. To fly across the sky like a bird may be your ambition, and here that ambition can be realized. Soar into the firmament, and then just listen to the silence. As you glide effortlessly on the currents of air, you have time to reflect, and perchance dream a little. From this vantage point, the whole of the Vale of Clwyd spreads beneath you like a carpet, and many of Denbigh's secrets are revealed. High Street represents the heart of most towns, and Denbigh is no exception. For centuries this street has been the commercial, administrative and social centre of the town. Due to the changes in demands of modern living, many of the smaller family-owned shops have disappeared from the High Street, to be replaced by larger commercial enterprises. On one side of this street, properties with floors projecting over the pavement are supported by stone columns, and it has for many, many years been the custom of people to meet here. Markets have been held here since the town's birth, with stalls and various wares creating a rainbow of colour down the middle of the street. Once upon a time, farmers and their wives brought eggs, butter, cheeses, and even live chickens and ducks to sell. But nowadays the market comprises mainly of clothing and household items. Crown Square, bordered on three sides by buildings, has also been known as the Open and Market Square. Named after the hotel on its eastern side, Crown Square is where the town's Angel War Memorial is located. When you visit Gwynonnog, an historic estate a short distance from Denbigh, you are taking a step into literary history. For it is here the famous authoress, Beatrix Potter, gained inspiration for her well-loved creation, The Tale of the Flopsy Bunnies. Between 1895 and 1912, Beatrix Potter paid many happy visits to her Aunt Harriet and Uncle Fred, who owned Gwynonnog, and during her stays she recorded her observations with pen and brush. This beautiful garden, so beloved by the celebrated writer, has been faithfully restored by her great-niece, Frances, who used her aunt's illustrations and watercolours to determine the layout of the garden and the types and colours of flowers growing at the time. This estate is very much a working estate, where traditional methods go hand in hand with the needs of the 20th century. For Gwynonnog, producing ice cream was a naturally progressive step from land cultivation and raising livestock. Prepared from the purest ingredients in many flavours, this delicious frozen sweet gives you a taste of summer all the year round. Sold throughout the country, Denbigh farmhouse ice cream is one of this area's most recent success stories. Colours of many mixed and brilliant hues are brought together here at Denbigh's annual flower show. Originally started as part of Britain's World War II Dig for Victory campaign, the show displays the prime of produce from gardens and allotments in and around the town. The competition for the coveted prizes is fierce, but always friendly, with the standard of entries consistently high. Whilst you always find plenty to interest and entertain you here, this show does provide opportunities for other beauties to parade before the judges. A fun day for all the family, enabling you to taste so much that is special to Denbigh. The church of St. Marcella is named after a 6th century Welsh saint. Its other name, Whitchurch, may have originated because of its former whitewashed walls, or the fact that the Carmelite friars, in their white habits, attended Mass here. The effigy of Sir John Salisbury is reputed to have 2 thumbs on each hand, but over the years souvenir hunters have vandalized the monument so that the legend can neither be proven or disproven. The case of this wonderful grandfather clock was made from African walnut by a local craftsman, while the clock itself was made by Denbighite Mr. Tom Roberts. Tom started repairing and making clocks as a hobby when he was a very young man, and now he spends most of his time in his well-equipped workshop restoring and creating exquisite timepieces. The village of Henllan is just one of many that circle Denbigh, adding colour and character to this lovely part of Clwyd. Among narrow streets and quaint cottages, there exists a strong community spirit which is reflected with pride in the attention shown to the cottages and gardens. With its old stone walls and thatched roof, the Llyndir Inn rates among the most picturesque inns in North Wales. Built as an inn as long ago as the 13th century, the Llyndir affords every modern comfort, while still retaining an atmosphere of old-world charm. The old-world atmosphere is emphasized not only by a collection of brass and copperware, but by a glamorous blonde ghost who is reputed to roam the house in the dark hours. Legend tells that some 300 years ago, when the lady's husband returned unexpectedly from the sea, he found his beautiful wife in the arms of another man. Overcome with jealous rage, the captain promptly dispatched his unfaithful wife to eternity. The lady's sad spirit has since haunted this inn, though she has not been seen so frequently in recent years. Love Lane is certainly one of the oldest, if not the oldest, streets in Denbigh, situated just below the castle walls. Groups of terrace houses line each side of the lane, with the old jail incongruously dropped in their midst. The Kai Trust, a bare mile from Denbigh town centre, is set in 20 acres of woodland, and here you can experience the daily life of a rare breeds farm. The lorry used in the 1963 Great Train Robbery is just one of the vehicles from the 1950s and 1960s that can be seen here. The theme of that era is also reflected in a variety of memorabilia and a mock-up of a 1950s kitchen. The windmill which stood here in Abrams Lane during the first half of the 19th century vied with the castle as visitors, approaching Denbigh from the north, got their first glimpse of the town. Brithin Road is an area of the town that has certainly succumbed to the requirements of modern transport. It now differs greatly from how it looked earlier this century. The infirmary, built at the turn of the 19th century, continues to provide care and comfort for patients from Denbigh and its immediate locality. For over a century, this bridge carried the railway line and its passengers to Ruthin. The arrival of the railway in 1857 transformed Denbigh, bringing growth and prosperity to the area. The railway meant that ordinary folk could travel to places they'd previously only dreamt of, and businesses were able to sell their products to new outlets. The railway was a major employer for many years, and its closure was a heavy blow to its workers. The last train ran on the 31st of December 1967, and it did not take long for the track to be lifted, and now cars park where steam engines once stood. Denbigh was firmly stamped on the 1993 sporting calendar when it formed part of the route of the Round Britain cycle race. The entourage accompanying the cyclists numbered more than the competitors. The growth of fascination with the past is giving life to the present, and the history of Denbigh and its surrounding area is well documented in several excellent publications. But whether your interest in Denbigh is past or present, you will find it a town of unique character, and one of the most attractive in North Wales in which you can live and work with pleasure and pride.